أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakumullah to everyone that's here on time. We do have a class which runs 6 till 7, which is why it takes a little bit of time to set everything up for G2. So we will start as we usually start with our selected prayers for learning and teaching the Holy Quran. And I am going to select A5110 if he can read the third prayer, which I'm about to highlight. So this prayer from Ibn Majah. Assalamu alaikum. A5110. A5110, are you there? Doesn't seem to be there, so we'll try again later. Can I have another student from Atfal raise their hand? Okay, A5117, I think you were first. Assalamu alaikum. A5117, could you please read the highlighted prayer?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Can you see the prayer okay? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, could you please recite?
Yes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni as'uluka
As'aluka. Yeah.
aluka ilman nafi'an.
Well done. So over here at inni, so remember yesterday we looked at the madda letters. What did we discuss about the ya madda? How many seconds do we prolong it for?
2 seconds.
Yeah. So just read it again for me and a bit more time on this inni because it's the madda letter.
Okay. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilmam nafi'an.
Well done. And can you read the translation for me?
Yes. Oh Allah, I ask you for your beneficial knowledge.
Brilliant. Jazakallah. That was very well read. So you are A5117. Jazakallah. So there are a few things that I just wanted to go through before we proceed to the lesson for today. So the first thing is there are a couple of people still who are not using their IDs. This is the first week of the course, so we've been quite lenient, but from next week, if you haven't come with the correct ID, we won't be letting you into the classroom. So please go back and check your email and find your correct ID. So there's one person, course 2, that's actually not the ID that you need. It's a personalized ID, depending on if you belong to Adfal or Nasarat. So please go back and check that. The majority of you have it, but there's about 4 people in the class still that need to get the correct ID. So that is course 2, Ibtisam, Shumaila Dawood, and Samsung GT. If you can please go back and check your email and then log back in with your correct ID or just rename yourself. The second thing was we have all of the classes that we are teaching. They are available as recordings. So all of these classes are recorded and they are there. They're being recorded so that you can revisit them and use them for revision purposes. So I'm just going to show you how to access those recordings if you don't know already. So this is the website that you want. This is Talimul-Quran.org.uk. And it's probably best if you make a note of it or have it in your favorites or something. So Talimul-Quran.org.uk, you want to go to Tashilul Quran course, which is the name of our course. And you want to go to course number 2. This is the second course we're running. So course number 2, and we are level 2, G2 group. So just click on these recordings and that will take you to the current lessons that have been uploaded. So Tuesday and Wednesday lessons are up there now for you to revisit if you think you need to revise what we've covered so far. So please make use of this tool. It's helpful for revision, especially at the weekend when you get a moment to just refresh yourself before starting again with Monday lessons. So definitely make use of this. It is for your benefit. So that's talimulquran.org.uk, Tashilul-Quran course, and you are going to course number 2, and it's G2 recordings. And there are a few other things which are downloadable for you to keep some of the resources that we're using in this course. So feel free to make use of those as well. So if you understood that, please can you just raise your hand so I know that that made sense to everybody? Okay, the majority of you have raised your hand, so that's great. Yep, so just try to keep revisiting that and revising over the lessons we've covered, because we're covering quite a lot of content, and it doesn't seem too much in the first week, but this is a 12-week course, so you will soon need to be revisiting some of the previous lessons. So that is our prayer done. We are going to move on to the next lesson. Those of you that have been attending on a daily basis so far in this first week, well done. We've covered quite a bit of content. A lot of it is probably revision for the majority of you. So just keep going over the content that we've covered so far. So we did our basic strokes, we did our vertical fatha, kasra and inverse dhamma. And then yesterday we looked in a bit more detail at the madda letters and also the lean letters, which isn't here but is sort of a related lesson. So from today we are going to be looking at something which we call assimilation. Again, this content is based on a book which we've basically based the course on, and that book is Talimul-Quran, and that's available in pretty much, I think, the majority of Jamaat bookshops. So if you do find it and you can get your hands on it, then it's a very valuable resource. So there's a deeper explanation about assimilation in that book, but for today we're going to focus on just the slides that we've got in front of us. So we are looking at 3 different categories, if you like. We're looking at 6 letters in particular, where we're going to look at applying this rule. This is just a bit of a summary, so you can see what the plan is today. So that's rule 10, 11, and 12. And we're going to look in a bit more detail on our slides. So the first 2 letters, if you want to call them that, the first 2 situations where we're going to look at applying this rule of assimilation is on rule number 10. And we are looking specifically at noon mushaddad. Just get my highlighter. Okay, so noon mushaddad and mim mushaddad. And the reason we call them noon and mim mushaddad is quite simply because on the top you'll probably be able to see a little W above the dot of the noon or just above the mim, and we call this a shadda. And a letter which has a shadda above it, we call it a mushaddad letter. And mushaddad basically means hardened, so the sound is hardened. And the reason for that is because the shadda basically represents a stress in the sound, because it's as if there are 2 of the same letter next to each other. So for example, we hear summun. This meme, we're going to put extra stress on it, because it's as if there were 2 memes sitting consecutively. So just for ease, they've put the little shadda that we have above. But it's basically just for you to remember that whenever you come across a letter which has a shadda, to put extra emphasis on it. So we are looking at, in particular, in rule number 10, noon and mim mushaddad. And we are basically remembering a couple of things when we come across such words in the Holy Quran. And what we're basically remembering is to put extra emphasis because of the shadda. And also we are going to hold the sound for at least 2 seconds. So you can see the explanation that's written in this box. Do not pronounce mim and noon mushaddad without ghunna for less than 2 counts or beats or seconds. So what that's basically saying is that when you come across mim and noon mushaddad, you're going to produce something which is a ghunna sound or a nasal sound. So it's a sound that comes from your nose. And you're going to hold that sound for at least 2 seconds. So I would like a volunteer. Actually, I will pick someone. So I'm going to pick N6113 if I can find her. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. N6113.
Walaikum salam.
How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. So do you understand so far what we've said about noon and mim mushaddad? Do you understand what you're aiming to do according to this rule?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Could you go ahead then and read the first example over here for me?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مكناه.
Okay, good. And what are you remembering to do aside from the shadda and producing the ghunna sound? What else are you remembering to do on this noon mushaddad?
That you also need to make a nasal sound.
Apart from that, so we've got another stroke at the top.
So because it's an inverse, but I think you have to make it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, so not inverse, but vertical fatha. But yeah, you're on the right line. So that's 2 seconds prolongation. Well done. And the next one?
Summan.
So these are dhammas, so it's going to be an O sound. So summun.
Summun.
And the next one?
Mannan.
The next one?
Ibatan.
So this is meme again.
Imatan.
Almost there. So what you're doing is you're stretching, you're actually prolonging it, whereas we want to hold the sound of the meme. So immatan.
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 Don't forget to read the alif at the start. Immatan.
Immatan.
Okay, well done. And the last example. So this has got 2 letters with a shadda, meme and noon mushaddad. So extra emphasis on both the meme and the noon in this example.
Okay. Fa'adammahunna.
So what you've done is you've done well on the shadda, but in the process of trying to get the right emphasis on them, you've prolonged the fatha here and the dhamma here. So when you read it, you need to make sure that all of these basic strokes, they need to be just 1 second. So فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ.
Fa'adammahunna.
Brilliant, well done. Jazakallah. So you are N6113, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Jazakallah. So hopefully that's clear to you. It's quite a straightforward rule. Just remember, meme and noon mushaddad. We are putting extra emphasis, extra stress on the letters because they have the shadda. We are holding the sound for at least 2 seconds, and also we're producing a nasal sound, a ghunna sound. We are going to move on to the next one that's in this category. Oh, sorry, let's do a bit of practice first. So I'm going to ask A5110, I think. Assalamu alaikum, A5110.
Walaikum salam.
Could you please start from the beginning of Surah Al-Qasr up till about verse 5?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم تن
So ألهاكم
ألهاكم متكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر قال سوف سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون.
Okay, good. So what you've basically done is you've done well on the rule regarding the mim mushaddad. So you put extra emphasis on the letter. But what you didn't do was apply the previous rules. So, for example, over here, do you know what this stroke is called above the ha?
Vertical fatha.
Yep. And how long do we prolong a vertical fatha for?
2 seconds.
Yeah, so I think you read it a little bit short. So, ألهاكم التكاثر. Can you try that for me?
ألهاكم التكاثر.
ألهاكم التكاثر.
ألهاكم التكاثر.
Yeah. And then over here as well, I think you didn't give quite enough time on the alif. So again, from yesterday's lesson, what did we learn about alif madda? How much time should we give it?
We should give it 2 seconds as well.
Yeah, exactly. So again, حتى زرتم المقابر. I think you might have read it as just a fatha and ignored the alif. So 2 seconds there. And also over here, you stretched the bar a bit, so you made it into bir rather than bir. So it's just a very simple kasra. So when you read it all together, حتى زرتم المقابر. Can you try that for me?
حتى زرتم المقابر.
Yeah, well done. And again, just read this verse again for me.
قال سوف تعلمون.
So what you've done here is you've made it into kala. This over here, this is just a simple qaf. Okay, so qaf with a fatha, which means the sound is going to be ka. And when you join it to this lam, the lam, remember, has got a shadda on it, so we're going to put extra stress on the letter. So when we join it all together, kalla. And
كلا.
yeah, and why do you think we're giving it 2 seconds?
Because of the alif after the lam.
Yeah, exactly. So kalla. And over here, do you remember what we covered in the second half of yesterday's lesson? What is this an example of over here? We've got a waw with a sukoon, so waw sakin, and before it, the letter's got a stroke of fatha. So what kind of letter is it?
Is it a sakin letter?
Not a
Or is
sakin
it
letter. So a sakin letter is when it's got this kind of, this is a jazm or a sukoon. This is the lean letter. Do you remember what we discussed about the huruf al-lean? Yeah. So basically, when you have a lean letter, it's the waw with a sukoon or it's the ya with a sukoon, and the letter before has got a fatha on it. So when you read it all together, it's not going to be sufa but sawfa. So it's like sawfa. So kalla sawfa ta'lamun.
كلا سوف تعلمون.
A bit more time again here on the alif. كلا سوف تعلمون.
كلا سوف تعلمون.
Yeah, well done. And over here you did the shadda quite well. Thumma on the meme, so extra emphasis and producing a slight nasal sound. Just read from here, from kalla.
كلا سوف
Yeah.
تعلمون.
Yeah, well done. So you corrected yourself here. So again, this is the exact same word, sawfa, and this is the lean letter. What I noticed a little bit that you're doing is when you've got this ain in the middle, you're kind of vibrating the sound a little bit, so you're reading it as da'a. So there's no vibration on this sound because this is what we call a letter with a sukoon, which means it's a muted letter. So just when you read it, ta'lamun.
تعلمون.
Yeah, Good. Okay, well done. So just keep working on it. You did well on today's lesson, but I think you need to revisit just to revise the lessons that we've done previously, especially about the madda and the lean letters. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Jazakallah. And you are A5110. Okay. So let's have now N6108. Don't seem to be able to find her. Oh yeah. Okay. N6108, Assalamu alaikum. N6108, can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum. Yes, I can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum. So could you carry on reading from verse number 6 then, please? So from here.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كلا لو
Okay, I think there's a lot of echo in your microphone, so it's a bit difficult to hear you. What I'll do is I'll just put you on mute for a second, and then I'll try you again in a moment. Just see if there's anything that you can do to fix your microphone, because it's really difficult to hear you. So I will choose N6107. Okay, N6107, are you there? Assalamu alaikum, N6107? Doesn't seem to be there. Okay, can you raise your hand if in this past week you haven't been picked at all and you're from Nasirat? I think we have N6132. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. N6132?
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamu. Can you read then from Kalla, please?
Okay. Wait. Where?
From here, from Kalla?
Oh.
Kalla la ta'lamun. With A'udhu Billah as well.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم
Yeah, carry on.
ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لا تسألن ألن يومئذ عن النعيم.
Okay, well done. Generally, it was okay. There was no real problems with your prolonging. Just over here on Kalla, that's again, it's 2 seconds there because we've got the alif madda, so we're prolonging for 2 seconds. I think you read it as Kalla, but it needs to be a little bit longer, okay? So
Okay.
Kalla. Okay. The other thing was that your previous lessons are fine, but for today's lesson, there needs to be a lot more emphasis and more of a nasal sound on all of these that are highlighted. So all of the nun mushaddas that you can see. So over here, لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ, and then يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. So a lot more emphasis on your mushaddad letters, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Can you read this line again for me?
لترون الجحيم
And this one over here.
ثم لا ترونها عين اليقين. Okay.
So again, more emphasis here, thumma, and also when you were reading this time round on the lam, you prolonged it a little bit too much. So remember, this is just a fatha, just 1 second. ثم لترونها. Try again.
ثم لترونها.
Excellent, well done. And do the last line again for me.
ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم.
Well done, that was good. Jazakallah. You are N612. Okay, let's mute you. Okay, Jazakallah N6132. That was well read generally. What I've noticed from those of you that have read so far, some of you are really good at grasping today's lesson, but have sort of forgotten or fallen down on the lessons previous to today. And those ones are the very basic lessons, so it's really important that you get to grips with them because they are kind of your foundations. If you aren't properly applying those rules, then you're going to really struggle with future lessons. So please do revisit them. Please do listen to the recordings of the classes again. You should now all know how to access them. And please be very mindful when you're doing your Quranic recitation, which you should be doing daily anyway. Really look out for the rules that we've covered so far and really think about how to apply them correctly. So that was the first of the set of 3 that we're looking at today. So we've done Noon and Mim Mushaddad, and we have learnt that we are going to put extra emphasis on it because it is a Mushaddad letter. Additionally, because we are also we're going to stress it. We're going to put extra stress on it, so holding it for at least 2 seconds, and also we are producing a ghunna sound when we read it. So let's move on to the second set. And this time we are looking at Lam, which again is carrying the Shadda. All of these letters will be carrying the Shadda sign. So we are looking at Lam, Mushaddad and Ra Mushaddad. So if we go back to our slides, this is rule number 11. And we're just going to read the explanation very quickly. Do not pronounce ghunna if noon sakin or tanveen appears before a lam with shadda or ra with shadda. So what this is basically saying, it's telling you to focus on 2 things. So the ghunna sound is produced when you have a noon or a tanveen. So you can see in the first example, we have the letter noon, and above that letter we have this sign which we call the sukoon. Some of you might call it a jazm. And this is what we call a muted letter because it's got no stroke on it. So when we read it, we don't sort of bounce the sound in any way. It's just mute. That's basically the only way to describe it. So what we're looking at is this noon sakin, and also we're looking at a tanveen. So tanveen you will have probably come across. So this is an example of the tanveen of the dhamma stroke, which we call dhammatain. We also have, if you have this fatha, and there's 2 of them, we call that the fathatain. And if there's a kasra and there's 2 of them underneath, that would be a kasratain. So this tanveen which appears, you'll know that it produces a noon type sound as well. So for example, if I just ignore this over here, shidadun. Typically this sound of the fatha, the tanveen of the dhamma, it produces a noon sound, shidadun. And obviously we know that a noon sakin, it produces a noon sound. So what this rule is basically telling you is, when you have lam with a shadda, or ra with a shadda, when you join these, when you merge these letters together, this noon sound or this tanveen sound, it disappears completely. It becomes merged so that the lam sound or the ra sound is the only thing that you can hear. So if I just demonstrate with the first one, rather than reading it as min ladunka, which a lot of people do make that mistake, we are blending the noon sakin sound with this lam mushaddad, min ladunka. So when you read it, you can't hear this noon at all. It is completely merged into the sound of the lam, min ladunka. And the next example, mir rabbi, not min rabbi. The noon sakin is completely merged into the sound of the ra with the shadda, mir rabbi. And also remember extra emphasis on these shadda letters. In the next example, not shidadun la, that would be wrong. We are merging the sound of this tanween of dhamma with the lam mushaddad. Shidadulla, dulla. So you can't hear that noon sound at all. Shidadulla. And the final example, again we have the noon sakin, noon with the sukoon, and we are merging it with this lam with the shadda. Malla. And remember 2 seconds here because this is our madda letter, alif madda. So not manla, but malla. So it's important to remember this and to remember that this is applied to lam with a shadda or ra with a shadda. It is, once you get the hang of it, it's quite straightforward. It's just about when you come to reciting verses of the Holy Quran, which you're not necessarily familiar with, then it can become a bit tricky to remember all of the rules. So just keep working at it and keep revisiting these, and do make your notes as you go along so that you can remember all of these different rules. So I'm going to move on to the next rule again, and then we're going to do some more practice from some verses of the Holy Quran. So quick recap, we did meme and noon mushaddad, and we learnt that we put extra emphasis and we produce a nasal sound and we hold it for 2 seconds. And we looked at lam with shadda and ra with the shadda, and we learnt that when we merge the noon sakin or the tanween, it becomes completely merged into the sound of those letters, so we can't hear that at all. So as it says, do not produce ghunna at all if the noon sakin or tanween appears. Hopefully that's clear to you. We'll move on to rule number 12, which is the final in this category. And this time the letters that we're focusing are on our ya with a shadda and waw with a shadda. So again, reminding you all that shadda, we are looking at the little w that comes above the letter. And shadda means a mushaddad letter is a hardened letter, which put extra stress on. So what you basically need to know in this third case is that, so it says pronounce the ghunna not less than 2 seconds if noon sakin or tanween appears before a ya with a shadda or waw with a shadda. So what it's basically saying is that when you merge these, when you merge this sound, so again we're looking at noon sakin, and also we're looking at our tanween of fatha, again. When you merge them, there should be, you should hold that sound again for at least 2 seconds, and also you should produce a ghunna, a nasal sound. But it's not going to be as clear or as distinct as the meme and noon mushaddad. They were very clear nasal sounds. This is going to be a slightly hidden sound, so it's not completely the noon sound, but it's you can still tell that it's there. So I'll read it and then you'll hopefully see what I mean. So over here, not man yu'minu, but may yu'minu. May yu'minu. So it's not a complete noon sound that's coming through, it's just a hint of that nasal sound. May yu'minu. And again, we're holding that sound for at least 2 seconds. Over here, min walin. Min walin. So again, this sound which is coming through, it's not a complete clear noon sound, it's kind of a hidden nasal sound. Min walin. And again, holding it for 2 seconds. Next example, naran wa, naran wa. Again, a slight nasal sound coming through. And over here, hadiyan wa, hadiyan wa. Holding that sound for 2 seconds and making sure you are doing ghunna. Again, this is quite a straightforward rule, but when you put all of them together, it becomes a little bit more difficult to remember what rule applies on what letter. So we will do a little bit of practice. If I can get, I think we had a Nasirat last. If I can have a tifl who has never been picked on this course so far. Tifl. Okay, let's have. Okay, A5124. Could you please read from this surah? So we are looking at Surah Humaza, which is in the final part of the Holy Quran. And you can see that already it's sort of highlighted for you, so you know what to look out for. But if you can read the first 3 verses for me.
Okay.
with أعوذ بالله بسم الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يحسب أن ويل لكل همزة لمزة إن الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا.
Yeah, you can stop there. Jazakallah. So there was one point that I wanted to raise. So over here, this would be alladhi. If you're carrying on, then you could have read the small noon, which we call the noon qutni. But because we've stopped here at this verse and we are restarting, the way that we're going to read it is alladhi. So we're going to put a fatha on that blank alif. Okay. This rule we will come into later on in the course, but just for your knowledge now, this will be alladhi. If you could just revisit some of these examples of assimilation that we've talked about. So in the first one, we've got the example of a lam with a, what's this sign? What do we call it? Just above the lam?
Is it shudda?
Yeah, brilliant. So it's a shadda. And what do we remember when we recite a word which has a shadda in it? What do we have to remember to do?
We join two words together.
We do join them, but we have to put extra emphasis on it. So we have to put more stress on that letter. So when you join this, you joined it correctly because there was no noon sound which came through, which is good. So when you join it, waylul kulli, a lot more emphasis on this lam mushaddad. Waylul kulli. Can you try that for me?
Waylul kulli.
Yeah, brilliant. And again, over here, so you correctly applied the rule again. There was no sound from the tanveen coming through, so it was completely merged. Tillumaza. So again, the only thing you have to work on is making sure you put lots of stress on that shadda letter. So waylul likulli humazatil lumaza. I mentioned this one to you already. Could you just read this verse again for me, starting with alladhi?
الذي جمع مالا وعدده.
So you're almost there. Again, as I mentioned, when you join with a waw or a ya with a shadda, so remember this is our final category, you have to remember that you kind of get a bit of a nasal sound coming through. So the way you would read it is malan wa addada. You need that ghunna sound coming through. So try to produce that sound. Malan wa addada.
مالا وعدده.
Little bit more time on the shadda. Malan wa.
مالا.
Yeah, good. Almost there. Keep practicing. And over here, just read again this verse for me.
يحسب أن ماله أخلده.
Excellent, well done. We're going to come to this lesson tomorrow, inshallah. Why did you prolong this more than 2 seconds?
Because there's a mud on top.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent, well done. So we'll inshallah come to that tomorrow. So it was well read. Just remember, wherever you see the shadda, you read it right in the sense that you knew when you should have brought the sound of the noon and when you should have hidden it. But just put more emphasis on those letters which have a shadda, okay? You are. Just remind me again of your ID.
A5124.
A5124. Okay, Jazakallah. So that's A5124. And I will try N6108 again. See if the sound is any better. N6108. N6108. No, I don't think she's there. N6107. N6107.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Could you please read, so carrying on from Kalla?
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kalla la yunbadzana fil hutamat
Yeah, carrying on.
wama hadra kamal hutamat mut
Yep, next verse as well.
narullahil mau kadatu.
Okay, jazakallah. So over here, we haven't covered this rule as such. Some of you might be aware of it. So, can you see this small meme just above this noon here? Yeah. So, when we read it, we are basically replacing the noon with a meme. So layum, and also a rule which we haven't really covered. If it's followed by a bar, we're going to pause for 2 seconds. So layum badanna. Can you read that for me?
Layum
Layum badanna.
baydamma
Badanna. So again, this noon, what's this sign just above the noon?
shadda.
Shadda, excellent. And what do we do when we have a shadda letter?
You stress it a bit.
Yeah, brilliant. So, and also remember this is a noon mushaddad. So this was in our first set, noon and mim mushaddad. And you have to remember when we come across this, we have to put not only extra emphasis on it, we have to make sure we do that nasal sound as well. So when we read it, la yumbadhanna.
Layum bazanna.
Good. And over here, I think you stretched this for more than 1 second. So remember, this is just a fatha. This is our stroke from our very first rule. And remember, this is 1 second, 1 count, 1 beat. So fil hutamah, no stretching on it, just 1 second. And again, over here, fil mal hutamah. One thing that I picked up on, again, we are coming in lesson 2, we're going to look at this more closely. But when you have this this kind of ha and it's got the 2 dots on it, when you stop at the end of that verse, it becomes a ha. So if you're carrying on, you would say mal hutamatu narullahi, but because you've chosen to stop there, dhamma will be replaced by a sukoon and it will be a ha sound. So it would become mal hutamah. And over here as well, narullahil muqadah. Again, this ta marbuta, which is what we call it, it would take a sukoon and it would become a ha. Narullahil muqadah. Okay, so just remember this for lesson number 2. And also just keep revising today's lesson especially because we really need to have that emphasis on that noon mushaddad. Okay? Okay, jazakallah. And you were, just tell me your ID again.
N6107.
107, yep. Okay. Okay, jazakallah, N6107. One more from Atfal, please. Okay, we will have, let's see if I can find somebody different. Let's try A5121. Assalamualaikum. A5121.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Can you please read from here, from Allati?
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allati tatalitu.
This letter here. This is an ain. So tatali'u.
Tatali'u. Alal idati
Yep, carry on.
innaha alayhim mu sadatu
And the last verse, please.
fi amadi mumadda datin.
Jazakallah. So again, one point that I will raise, again, we haven't covered this yet, but it will be in lesson 2. So all of these places where you see the ta marbuta, these will become a ha sound when you pause. So when you're stopping here, allati tattali'u ala al-af'idah. So this is going to be a ha sound when you stop.
Okay.
Again, over here, innaha alayhim mu'sadah. Sadah. So this is going to become a ha sound. And again, if you're going to stop at the end of this verse, number 10, fi amadim mumaddadah. So this is going to be a ha sound again. Don't worry too much about that. We will visit that later on. So there were a couple of things. This one over here is a little bit tricky, and we are going to look at this hopefully in lesson number 3. You've got a ta, and then you have the letter ta, which is a bit of a thicker letter. So you have ta and you have ta, and it's a bit of a mouthful to join the two, especially because there's a shadda on the ta. So when you join them, tattali'u, tattali'u. Can you try that for me?
Okay, tattali'u.
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 Almost there. Keep practicing. Tattali'u. Remember, we're not changing the stroke on here. This is still a fatha, but we want to make a difference between this ta and this ta. So this ta, it's a bit more rounded and a bit thicker. Tattali'u.
Tattali'u.
Oh, you did it right there, but you just put a fatha there. Tattali'u.
Tattali'u.
Well done. And over here, so today's lesson, the first letters that we looked at were the meme with the shadda, and we also looked at noon with shadda. So can you remember what you do when you join something with a meme mushaddad? What do you have to remember to do?
Wait, what do you do? You have to remember to like thicken it.
Yeah, so not thicken, but yeah, to put extra stress on it, because it's a hardened letter. So when we join this, we've got a meme with a sukoon, and we're joining it to this meme with a shadda. So it'll be alayhim mu'sadah. Alayhim mu'sadah. So try to put extra emphasis when you join these. Alayhim mu'sadah. Try it for me.
Alayhim mu'sama.
Mu'sadah.
Okay, mu'sada.
Well done. And again, over here, so when we're joining these, we've got the dal, and underneath the dal, we have the tanveen of kasra. So we've got the two double strokes of a kasra, which means that it will produce that tanveen sound. And when we join it, it's going to be extra emphasis on this meme mushaddad. Fi amadim mumaddada. Can you read that for me?
Okay, fi amadin mumaddada.
Fi amadim mumaddada.
Fi amudin mamaddada.
Amadimmu
Amadimu
maddada.
maddada.
Okay, well done, Jazakallah. You are A5124, yeah?
A5121.
Oh, sorry, A5121. Okay, Jazakallah, A5121. So keep working on it, especially where you're putting emphasis on your shadda letters to make sure that you're doing that correctly. One thing I just wanted to ask, we are coming towards the end of the lesson. I forgot to do this in the beginning, but I wanted to, if everyone can lower their hand for a second, because I want to ask a question. So if you all put your hands down, if you hover over your name, there will be a button on the left which says lower hand. So if you put them all down for 1 second. Okay. So I wanted to ask, in this group of G2, we've got 30 people at the moment. How many of you are between the ages of 6 to 8? So if you're 6, 7, or 8 years old, please put your hand up. Just N6133. Anybody else in this group that is 6, 7, or 8 years old? Okay, so we have... Okay, that's fine. Jazakallah, you can put your hands down now. And those of you that are 9, 10, or 11 years old in this group, put your hands up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. And those of you that are 12, 13, or 14 years old? 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Jazakallah, that's fine. So you can all put your hands down. I just wanted to get a rough estimate of how many different ages we've got in this group. That's fine. So as we are coming to the end of the class, a quick review, and then we will do our final prayer as we usually do. So we have today rules 10, 11, and 12 from the 20 most common errors in Tilawat. And the reason it's called such because these are the most common mistakes that people typically make. So today's rules were Mim and Noon Mushaddad, and remembering to put extra emphasis on Shadda letters, holding the sound for 2 seconds and producing a Gunna sound. And then we looked at Lam and Ra Mushaddad, and we learnt that the Noon Sakin or the Tanveen sound from the letter before, it's completely merged into the Ra or the Lam. And in the final set, we learnt that we had Waw and Ya with Shadda, and we learnt that when we merge them, we do put emphasis because it's a Shadda, but we produce a slight nasal sound, so it's half merged. So May yu'minu min walin, etc. So hopefully that's clear to you. Tomorrow we will move on to the next lesson. So as I mentioned, we are going to look at the different stretches, so the medium long stretch and the extra long stretch, and we'll continue. We are coming up to rule number 13 inshallah from tomorrow, so we are more than halfway done. So we are making good progress, and hopefully by the end of next week, inshallah, we should have completed these 20 common errors. So I would like to select, if I can have another student from Atfal raise their hand for the final prayer. Student from Atfal, please. So we have, okay. A5113. A5113, could you please recite this prayer?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Could you please recite the prayer for me?
Allahumma arhamni bil Qur'anil azim.
Well done. And the next line?
Li Imam
Mangwa. Nurangwa. Udangwa. Good. If you're pausing there, again, you can read it as Rahmah on the end. Okay? Could you also read the translations for me, please?
Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the great Quran. And make it for me the leaders, like the kindness, the mercy.
Jazakallah, very well read, mashallah. So inshallah, I'll see you again in tomorrow's class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.